Hello and welcome to Ewe Sew You. My name's Zoe and this is my channel, usually about all the crafty bits and pieces I get up to, but this week we are talking books. So grab a brew, put your feet up and let's get started. Welcome back to any returning viewers, and to any new viewers a very warm welcome to you. This is the first in an occasional series on what I've been reading. So for today's video I'm going to talk a bit about things that have been like a standout highlight read from the past year or so. You'd have thought I'd have had plenty of time to read with everything that was going on, but yeah, apparently not. I would have liked to have read a lot more, to be fair, but there are a few standout reads that I'd like to share with you, so we'll get into those in a minute, and then we're going to move on to the sections that will normally be in this occasional series. So what I'm currently reading and also what I've just finished. I'm not about to give you scores or ratings for books. The reason for that being, it's subjective. What I will say is I will recommend this book to you if you like this type of book, or I wouldn't recommend this book to you at all. But they are my opinion. Your mileage may vary, and that's always going to be the case with books and with opinions and recommendations, what have you. You can't be objective about something that you're going to have an emotional response to, or that you're trying to have an emotional response to. A little bit different when you're getting into the more factual books, I suppose, but a lot of what I read is fiction. I do read some non-fiction, and we'll get onto that in a bit. But yeah, in general, I'm not really one for giving something a rating. I do obviously look at them when I'm choosing books, but I'll look more at the content of what people have said in their reviews than the stars or the smiley faces or the thumbs up or whatever else they're deciding to give it as their rating system. So you won't hear me saying, oh yes, this is a 4 out of 5 or this is a 10-star or what have you. It's just going to be recommend, don't recommend. That's that. So hopefully that should be pretty clear for you all. And yeah, I mean, I don't read one particular genre over others, like really. I mean, I do have a tendency at the moment to gravitate towards the more fantasy type books, but I do also read historical fiction, I read crime fiction, I read mysteries, I read all sorts of stuff. For a while I was reading a lot of children's books because I was teaching in a primary school. I do have one upstairs actually that I keep meaning to get around to reading that I was going to do with a year 4 class, but we ran out of time. So yeah, if you want books reading recommendations for young kids, let me know in the comments down below and I'll see what I can come up with. Particularly for reluctant readers, I did quite well with one title in particular. For reluctant readers, year 4, so around about 10 years old, 9 to 10 years old, and it's a book called My Brother is a Superhero, and we read that as a class. It was a majority boys class, so there were some girls, but most of the class were boys, and they were not the keenest of readers on the whole. There were a few who were, but on the whole they weren't. This particular book, it's part of a series of books. The pages are yellow on the outside, so it stands out. It's all superhero colours on the cover of it, and the tagline on the front goes, so it's, my brother's a superhero, and I would have been one too if I hadn't have needed a wee. Straight away you've got the kids' attention. But it's actually a really funny book. It's good for girls, it's good for boys. So yeah, if you've got a reluctant reader in the sort of 9 to 10 bracket, or there and thereabouts, they're reading at that level rather than necessarily chronological age, they're going to enjoy that sort of book. And like I said, it is a bit of a series now, so yeah, that's my kiddie recommendation book. But let's get back to what I've been reading more recently, because that was a couple of years ago now. Well, 3 or 4 years ago now actually. So, things that I've been reading over the past, 18 months now, isn't it? So the first couple of books that I'm going to talk to you about, well, the first 3 books, they're both parts of, all the books of my highlights are parts of a series, and the book that I've just finished is part of a series. So series is a bit of a theme today. So the first 3 books I'm going to talk to you about. I got out from the library, well, I got 2 of them out from the library just before everything went topsy-turvy. So these were read quite a while ago, but they are real standout reads. The first 2 that I'm going to talk to you about, one of them I had from the library when things kicked off. The other one I got hold of a little bit later, because we were able to order books from our library and pick them up and drop them off and that kind of thing, so that was quite useful. So these are 2 Philip Pullman books. They are the first 2 books in his Book of Dust trilogy. So they expand on the world of his Dark Materials. So the first one is called La Belle Sauvage, which is a prequel to his Dark Materials. It is part of this new trilogy, but it's set before his Dark Materials happened, quite significantly before his Dark Materials happen. It goes through the background as to how Lyra ends up being raised at Jordan College away from her family. So whilst Lyra appears in the book, she actually appears as a baby, so it's not her adventure. You've got these other characters being introduced. It explains a bit more of the world around Oxford in the world of his Dark Materials, and gives a little bit more depth to the world that she's grown up in and the world that she's trying to battle against in his Dark Materials. The second book in the series is called The Secret Commonwealth, and in that one we actually meet Lyra as a young adult. She's, I believe, in her early 20s, so she's a student at university in Oxford. And it really sort of goes into not just the adventure that she goes on in this particular story and the way the world is working at that point, but it shows the impact that the actions that she took in his Northern Light, in the Northern Lights and Sight of Eyeglass and all that sort of, the whole Dark Materials trilogy. It shows the impact of the actions that she took then on her as a young woman. So it really sort of develops the character, and again we get to see more of the world around, not just Oxford, but we get to see more of the world that she's moving in and more of the things that are going on and the darker forces that are around. And so yeah, definitely recommend those 2 if you liked the original His Dark Materials trilogy. Whether you read them or whether you watched the recent BBC adaptation, which is better than the film, whilst they got the colourings a bit better in the film for Lyra and for Bad Woman, whose name escapes me right now because it's been a while since I read them and watched them. They got the colourings a bit better in the films. In the film of Golden Compass, the series of his Dark Materials that the BBC did over the past couple of years. So they've done 2 seasons so far. I imagine they've not quite got around to completing the last one because topsy-turvy world. But that was a lot closer, I felt, to the books. And Ruth Wilson is fabulous. So yeah, and James McAvoy as well. So it's a good cast and yeah, really, really quite close to the books. So whether you like the series or you like the books, you should enjoy the Book of Dust series. There is a 3rd volume to come. I don't know when it's going to be released just yet. I would imagine it's probably going to be next year sometime, just judging by Philip Pullman's Twitter feed. But I'm kind of guesstimating there. So that's the first 2, and I felt I really sort of needed to talk to them together as they were part of the same series. I've also binge read as well as binge watched Outlander, which is the Diana Gabaldon historical fantasy series. If you like historical fiction, if you like time travel, if you like men in kilts, it's quite wordily written, which is not a massive surprise given that she wrote the first one as an experiment to see if she could write a novel. So she wasn't a novelist prior to writing the first Outlander book. She is hugely prolific. There's this whole whacking great series of Outlander books. There's about something like 8 of them, and there's one coming out later in the year that I have on pre-order to finish the series off. But she's also done intervening short stories that tie up some of the loose ends from the novels, and she's done a whole another series with Lord John Grey, which I will probably read at some point, but I'm going to finish all the Outlander ones first, so I've just got the new one to read when it gets released. So yeah, if you like historical stuff, if you like relationships. It's not romance in the sort of romance genre meaning of the word. It's romantic, but it's not a romance novel or a series of novels. But if you like adventure, if you like historical fiction, if you like fantasy, then yeah, give them a go. I do know some people find them a bit too wordy. I personally don't have a problem with that, because why use one word when you can use 50 million? It kind of fits with the way that I speak and what have you. So I really enjoyed those. They aren't, as I say, certainly the earlier books aren't the highest quality of writing, but they do get better as the series progresses. But keeping that same verbose style. And it's little things like integrating the languages that aren't so hot in the earlier books. But that's not to say that they're bad. They are good books. You can just see the progression of the author as the series goes on, which I think is actually quite nice to see in a series of books. So give those a go if any of those different genres are your thing, because they are a bit of a mashup. And if you don't mind books being a bit long-winded. So that's those. And the other one is as far as I know, it's a standalone novel rather than a series. I kind of hope it'll be a series. Kinda. But I don't know where the author would take it if she was to do a sequel or what have you. There are other books out by the same author that I haven't really investigated yet, and I need to, just in case one of them is a sequel. But this is The Binding by Bridget Collins. Now, when I finished this, I did put a post up on Instagram of do yourself a favour and read this book, and I stand by that. Now, I wouldn't be able to tell you now, having read it back in March, at the beginning of everything going belly up. So details like the names of some of the characters have gone out of my head, because brain like a sieve. But the book itself is phenomenal. It's set in this fantasy world that's got this Victoriana steampunky type feel to it. I mean, not like massively steampunk light. So it's Victorian-esque world. It starts in a rural area with the working classes, where there's this massive distrust of books, because books aren't just the word on the page in this novel. They are so much more than that. The working class rural people really distrust them. They can only be created properly by specially skilled people who have been specifically trained to create them. It's a magical process that they use to create them. And the best books are highly expensive and highly desirable. But as you get into the book, you discover they're actually quite sinister. And I don't want to say too much more about what goes on in this book, because there are some phenomenal twists and turns that I just could not see coming. And quite often when I'm reading a book or watching a film or watching a series, I can see the twist coming a mile away. But with The Binding, not a chance. So do yourself a favour. Whether you like fantasy or not, read this book. There is unlikely to be another book that I will say that about. It's phenomenal. Just find out what the twist is. Read it. So highly recommend that one. Those are the ones that are the highlights of the past few years. Now that's a section that I will not normally be including in these videos, but I did want to share those particular books with you guys. So we're going to move on to, I'm just going to turn the page of my notes that I've got down here, that's why I keep looking away. My list of what I'm currently reading. Now I use Audible when I'm out and about, and I remember, and I've got a charge on my headphones. I will sometimes use Audible when I'm at home crafting, but usually I'm reading physical books or on Kindle when I'm at home. So Audible, Kindle and physical books. So on Audible at the moment I've got 2 titles on the go. One that's been on the go for at least a couple of years, but it is a trilogy. and that's the Society of the Sword, and the Audible version of it has all 3 books in one go. It's Duncan M. Hamilton that's the author, and again it's a fantasy world. You've got a street urchin making his way up through society, you've got battles, you've got wars, you've got all sorts of relationships going on, you've got politics going on. I think more of it would have stuck in my head if I'd have physically read it rather than listened to it. I do find that a little bit of fiction when I listen to it. It can sort of pass me by a little. Not that I don't enjoy it at the time, but it doesn't seem to sort of stick in my head as much as when I physically read it. But I have been quite enjoying that. It's a male central character, because, as I say, from being a street urchin to being quite successful in the military, and all sorts of shenanigans and undercover operations and things going on, but it's swashbuckling. So there's that. Then we have on Kindle the Ardent Swarm, which I've only just started. I started a little while ago, but I'm only like a few pages in, so I'm not going to say too much about that, but it's about a beekeeping family. I think it's either in Yemen or Afghanistan, but it's somewhere in the East, Middle East. But yeah, I've not got too far into that one, so I'll update you on that one a bit further through. And also I've started reading the Beautiful Demons series by Sarah Cannon, also on Kindle. Sarah Cannon has a couple of YouTube channels, one that's her author channel for fans of the books, and one that's her supporting other authors channel and people who want to plan and organise. It's planning, organising and being an author, sort of self-improvement type thing. So that's the channel that I watch rather than the fan channel. She's very approachable in the way that she presents herself on video, so I thought I'd best give her books a bit of a chance. She's an independent author, so she publishes herself. It's not the same as Vanity Publishing, but she does all the marketing and the book covers and everything for her books, and you can actually follow her journey as an author over on her channel. So either the Sarah Cannon channel, which is the fan channel, or Heart Breathings, which is her life as an author channel. So there's those, and then the physical books, the ones I'm currently reading with actual bookmarks. So first up we have A Year in Provence by Peter Mayle. Now this is one of my partner's favourite books. This and Watership Down. He doesn't read much, but these two he loves. So I'm reading this because he wants me to. It's fine. I'm not finding it as funny as he did. As you can see, I'm only kind of a little way through. It's obviously non-fiction, bit of a memoir of a British guy being an expat in Provence. It's not a new book, but finally got around to reading that. I hadn't read it and he loves it, so he was like, you've got to read it. So I'm reading it. But again, I'll give you more on that when I'm a bit further through. It's not grabbing my attention at the moment, which is not to say it's not a good book, it is, but it's just not floating my boat at the moment. And the other physical book that I'm reading is one of the ones that came in my Box of Stories delivery that I talked about in my What I've Been Making video a couple of weeks ago. And I've chosen to start with And When She Was Good, which is by Laura Lippman. And I have actually got quite far through, and that's about 2 or 3 stints of reading that I've got this far through, so I'm just over halfway. So I'm actually really enjoying this one at the moment. It's quite character driven, flips between the 90s and the present day. So that's quite interesting. I don't want to say too much about it because obviously I haven't finished it yet, but when I do finish it, it will be included in the next section of another video, probably my next book video. I don't know how often I'm going to do them, but yeah, probably around about when I finish a book or two. So those are the current reads that I've got on the go at the minute. And the final thing that I'd like to talk to you about is actually a book that I read on Kindle, and it's the first in a series of books. Book 2 is due out, I believe, in October. and it's a book by E.J. Mello called The Song of the Forever Rain, which is the first book in the Musai series. So this is pure fantasy. This is high-end world-building fantasy with a very, very strong female lead. There's nothing historical about it. There's nothing sort of based in the world as we know it in there. It's not science fiction, it's fantasy, it's magic, that kind of thing. It's set in a world called Adilor, and the central character of this book is a girl called Lakira Bassett, who is turning 19, which in Adilor is when you come of age. So she's navigating that whole process of becoming a grown-up, coming of age, being introduced to society as the member of this noble house that she is. But she also has a secret life. She's part of a Jabari family. Jabari is one of the cities in Adilor. And they are quite powerful. She's got 2 elder sisters. And these are the women with a significant amount of power. Not just because they're part of this noble family, but because of their other life, this life of the Musai. It starts with a little bit of this is what they're like when they're tiny. Look at all this power that's coming out of them. And then it jumps to them being older and Lakira coming of age. She's got this intense power. She travels across the kingdom. She does fall in love. There is a bit of a romance storyline in there, but it's not romance in the normal way that fantasy romance is done. This is not a young woman who needs help from anyone to do anything. She's not damsel in distress at any point. So yeah, it is a gripping novel that explores abuse of power and strength and working together and all that kind of thing. Again, I don't want to give too many details because I would want you to read it and to find these things out for yourself. But, so she's leading the charge. It's as I say, not the damsel in distress story. So if you like action adventures with a little bit of romance in there, with a strong female lead that is never the damsel in distress, never has to say to the man, "What do we do now?" She's the one that's in charge. She's running the show. Yeah, highly recommend that book as well. And I'm looking forward to the second one, which is called Dance of a Burning Sea, which I suspect will follow the middle sister. That's due out, as I say, in October. So yeah, so looking forward to that one. So that's the only recent finish that I've got for this video. You never know, there might be more next time, because like I said, I don't know how frequently I'm going to do these. At the most, it would be once a month, but it might be once every couple of months. We'll see. So, they're all recommends this week, to be fair. We've got La Belle Sauvage and Secret Commonwealth, which are the first 2 of Book of Dust series for Philip Pullman. The Binding by Bridget Collins, which is a must-read, absolutely must-read. It's phenomenal. The Outlander series, and we've got The Song of the Forever Rain. Those are the ones that I've finished and read and can actually give recommendations on at the moment. They are all recommends. If you like fantasies, if you like, go for things like Song of the Forever Rain. If you like historical books, maybe Outlander. If you like, again, but there's the fantastical element to that. So that there's a mixture there. La Belle Sauvage and Secret Commonwealth. If you like his dark materials, you'll like those. And yeah, The Binding. If you like fantasy. If you like Victoriana, if you like reading, if you are a person, read it. You may not enjoy it as much if you're not into fantasy. You may not enjoy it as much if you're not into Victoriana. But it is worth a read regardless. I think you will enjoy it. I'm not saying that you won't. I'm just thinking that somebody who's into fantasy and that kind of a story is probably going to enjoy it slightly more than somebody who normally reads SAS books. But yeah, so those are the books that I've been reading, and I don't have anything else for you this week. So I aim to put a video up every weekend. I've managed to do that most weekends this year. I think there's only about 2 that I've missed, so that's not bad going. So like, subscribe and ding the bell down below for notifications of when I next upload. Normally it is crafts that are discussed on this channel, but yeah, this is a new series I'm bringing into the content just for a bit of variety, and because, hey, I need a bit of accountability to get me reading back to where I was before, because I've not been reading as much as I'd like. And I will see you next time. This channel at the weekend, Friday, Saturday or Sunday, any one of those days. So yeah, ding the bell to let you know when it's there. Follow me on Instagram as Ewe Sew You, and I'd put notices up there when I upload a video as well. And yeah, I will see you next time. But until then, bye bye for now.